What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets. We're going to be talking a little NBA. Thank goodness. It wasn't even that I did had a bad losing day. It wasn't even a very. I lost a little bit yesterday, but not much. But it was just I was just talking to Sheets pre-show. It's like the worst football I've ever seen. And my girlfriend is from Chile, and she's familiar with soccer. They're for football, but trying to explain it to her, and we're at her new place, and she just bought this brand new giant screen TV, and we were having a great time, and telling her how fun it is. And the day was starting off beautiful. By the way, I was up like $150,000 in after the first quarter. So she's just thinking this is a cool thing. And then watching the games, the football was terrible. I mean, in my opinion, I just think nobody's good. And so that's my thoughts on football. We can move on to basketball. Sheik, do you have any comment on that?
Fortunately, I missed. I've been just like you were saying, a man about town. I was MMA Saturday all day and night, and then yesterday I went to see Hadestown at Broadway show. I was fortunate enough to miss the football because I heard it was worth missing. But what was interesting is that Buffalo and Dallas basically decimated survivor pools all over the country. I had some Buffalo, but I faded all of Dallas, and I faded some of Buffalo too. And I got through with some Indianapolis on Thursday. I got through with some Miami, and I got through with some Kansas City. And all the pools are very, very winnable now, including we have entries in that big circa pool in freaking Vegas with 6 million in the pot, which is that's down to maybe 500 people now, which is getting that'll be interesting. And I have some and so I lost 1,000 in football, but I made it back in basketball with the lineup that we talked about, you and me. That kind of I cashed in the big one, and then I had a run in the lottery, which Curry, just even as a median projection game, I win that one going away, I think. But I want to share something else with you guys. So I want to share my screen. So, could you enable screen share?
Oh, my fault. Yeah, sorry, I thought I did. My fault.
So this is something that my brother-in-law has been working on. I mentioned this, and he's got kind of a semi-primitive optimizer running for 5 or 6 different sports, and we're continuing to work on this. And he's got it so that you can either import your own projections, or if you want, you could just click on a button and all of my updated projections, which aggregate the industry anyway, comes in there. And then you could just boom, and it'll hit the optimal right there. So it'll give you this is actually the optimal for today, just so you know.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and we have an ability to lock players and exclude them, however many you want. You could reduce the salary. So if you make it less salary, you say you want to leave money on the table. If it's a slate you want to do that, it could do that also. And he's been coding all weekend because he's really enjoying it. And he has a couple of more days off, and he's going to do more of this. And hopefully we could go live with this really, really soon. And it's what people have been asking for, and he really enjoys doing it. And it's too hard for me to do it. So I'm glad that he's on this, and we'll continue to update this as it goes.
Yeah, that's really exciting stuff. Great stuff by Evan, and we're setting up stuff we'll try and build that out and then expand on it and all that stuff, and hopefully we can make it functional and useful for you guys, and let us know any thoughts you have while we do it. So that's great stuff. Let's get to the slate today, man. We'll go game by game as usual. I don't have an overwhelming all massive take today. But I just want to say that I think that I don't know. I don't think this is I feel like there's some fishy stuff going on in some of the value on this slate.
I have extreme value coming from 3 spots, so we'll get to it when we get to it.
By the way, Friday was the biggest. I mean, I guess I can say this, but shit show of an NBA slate ever too. Everybody got blown out. It was what won the big ones? 303 303 DK points. That was
I didn't win.
Was that Sheets?
I can't believe I didn't win.
I know. I was so sure I was going to get the message from Sheets. Hey, take a look at this one. And I was looking around for you, trying to find you.
It wasn't happening.
Couldn't find you. It wasn't a great night for me. But I mean, honestly, I don't know how you were supposed to project that night. There was literally every game was blown out, even the teams that were favorable. It was just a really weird slate. Anyway, so
you know what I am going to whine a little bit. So okay. I'm not going to whine. I want to share.
The screen from last night.
Well, so I want to share the story behind it too. Okay. So I was in, I told you I was out all day. I was in, I was seeing a show or whatever it was. And, where was this? Okay. So I was seeing a show. I put in my lineups early. I figured I would check. And then, so this is the lineup that I put in the excuse me, this is not. Hold on a minute. I do want to do this right. Hold on just a second. Hold on.
Yeah, it was a. I can tell you.
No, you gotta get the story behind it first.
Okay.
It's gotta be shown in the right order and all of it. Okay. So I want you to look at this lineup right here. Okay. So this lineup right here, I had this lineup almost in both the 600 or whatever the big one is, and I also had a copy of it in the lottery, like I thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like this exactly. It was Rubio with Bledsoe, Eric Bledsoe, and then everybody else the same. Okay. And when I was looking at the list of Rubio, I don't know, is there anybody better than Rubio I could put in it? And then I saw a note that Eric Bledsoe was out for, not Eric Bledsoe, Kemba was out for the Knicks, right? So I looked and I saw that Derrick Rose was only 4,400. I'm like, oh, that looks like a good play. I'll replace Rubio with Derrick Rose, right? So I replaced Rubio with Derrick Rose, kept man the same, and that ended up with this $1,200 cash in the 500. All right, very good, not bad, right? 300 points. But then after the first set of games came in, you had Drew Eubanks, who was 8% owned, and he 8x. Ricky Rubio, who I had left in the 20, he had, I think it's just like 15x or something like that.
3% owned, I think, too.
Yeah, at 3% owned. So I reached out to Bobby and I thought about this. Like, I probably should change some of this stuff in the later games. I had Curry, I wasn't changing that. Giannis had a 70 burger. He was good. The one thing I changed Bledsoe to Oubre. And then I sent this thing to Bobby. I said, any change in this? And he says, no, I actually think this is pretty good. Maybe Bledsoe, but I kind of like it like this, Zubac, whatever it is. And this thing ended up, like, if it were not for Curry getting 35 fantasy points,
he win it by a mile.
Like, this would have probably won the 20. But the really annoying thing is if I had just kept this like this in the monster, this as is wins by 10 points.
Yeah, that's frustrating, man. You're speaking my language here. I've seen that happen before. It sucks.
Yeah, but it was but you know what? I did what I could. I made money, whatever. But that was it's weird the way that happens. I bring it up also because, like, tonight, I do believe that it's not the same. I think I'm projecting both Rose and Kemba to be in. So I don't think it's the same amount of value coming out of there. As a matter of fact, the only thing I really have in this Philly-New York game is Embiid. And he did really nicely for me the other day at like 8% ownership or something like that. He got like 60 or something like that. So I'll continue to go back to him as long as people aren't going to play zillions of him. So I like Embiid, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to get to Randall.
Yeah, I'm sort of struggling with this one because I don't really love like some of the things on the slate that I think that are going to be pretty popular. I think that I'm open to the Embiid thing. I have some concerns. It's weird. They're really running the offense through him in a different way. I mean, his assist numbers are up in general. I know that last game he only had 3 assists or whatever. I don't know. I'm sort of stuck on this one. I don't know if I want to go with the Embiid thing. He's going to be low enough owned where it makes some sense. Really hasn't been producing fantasy-wise nearly as well as he has in the past. And this is the kind of matchup that, can give teams trouble for bigs, especially. I mean, Embiid had one of his worst games of the season against this team last time out. So I'm sort of like in a holding pattern with this game. Like, I don't think I really want to do anything. I want to see who's playing because, as you guys know, that there's probably going to be a million things announced that we didn't account for because a lot of these teams did play yesterday. I didn't even track. The Philly and the Knicks didn't. Philly didn't, but the Knicks played. Yeah. So we don't know who's going to play exactly. So I'm sort of in a wait and see mode. The one thing that does jump out to me in this overall is I have a little bit of interest in Evan Fournier. Regardless, I know he hasn't put up a really nice game or anything, but you have Derrick Rose on a back-to-back, and you've got if Kemba, if for any reason is out again, I could see him getting some of the usage, but really not all that exciting, to be honest with you.
All right, so let's move on then.
Maybe Alec Burks, by the way, if that happens, but we're going to have to wait. Alec Burks does play well against this Philly team. For whatever reason, he always plays well in Philly. All right, Brooklyn, Chicago. Anything? What are you looking at over here?
Here's what I'll say. James Harden has been just not himself. I'm going to put it another way. Between everything that's going on, James Harden is just obviously something is wrong. and yet still he's putting up freaking fantasy points every day.
Yep.
So he's going to continue to be someone that I look at, especially now that he's become like the sub 10% owned guy every night, pretty much. I'm going to continue to look at him and or Durant as possibilities every night, as long as Kyrie remains out and as long as they're both around 10K or less. So I think both of them can, they're just way too talented to not be in play. So I like one of them, if not both. But not both. Not that either of them is kind of like a smash must play, but I won't dismiss them just because they haven't really made anybody money yet this year. On the Chicago side, I'm not getting to much. I think Levine at 8,600 would be the guy I would get to. As a matter of fact, maybe that's what I should do. Yeah, I'm going to put Levine in the mix here. So Levine, maybe a Levine Harden or a Levine Durant. This is a sneaky, could be a sneaky little playoff game. Maybe a 7v2 or something like that near the end of the season. I don't know, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this game to watch actually a little bit. So I like Levine.
Who's the two? Who's the two? Who's the seven? Chicago's the 2 and Brooklyn's the 7.
Good question, right? I meant you know what I meant, but I don't know.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I could get talked into a Levine Durant thing or a Levine Durant Harden thing. I could do that.
Yeah, I like Caruso in this game, to be honest with you. Probably my favorite play on the Bulls. I don't think it's an exciting play. It's an interesting pivot off of some chalky value. He's going to be pretty chalky too, based on right now. Yes. But he's going to be a pivot off of some other guys who are going to be very popular.
There's a bunch of them, yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's kind of, mildly interesting. I'm always open to Levine, but again, would have had one game this season that would have been acceptable. I'm looking at early projections. They're in basketball, don't take him for much, but DeRozan's cheaper and has been a better fantasy producer this season than Levine. Now, I don't think that's necessarily going to always continue, but has actually shown more of a ceiling lately. The guy who I think, though, is the most interesting of all of them, with all that said, who really hasn't given us much to feel great about. This matchup is just so good for bigs that it's really hard to see. I really think Vucevic could have a game here, but I don't know if I maybe am overreaching trying to play this game. I also, what you were saying about Harden, I think we should be playing Durant. I think Durant's the better play between the two of them by a pretty good ways. But if Harden's going to be completely unowned, I get it. I watched that every minute of that Detroit-Brooklyn game, basically. And on Friday, they really aren't giving Harden calls. It's actually going to come in. It's not that it's just not getting the calls. He's not as quick as he was. He's not moving the same. So it's a combination of that where he can't get anything off. He can't, we talked about the 3-pointers made thing with him. It's a crapshoot whether he makes any in a given night. You know what I mean? He just is not the same guy. However, he's still putting up points fantasy points as you pointed out. I don't know. This game is a game that I may end up stacking or I may end up fading. I don't know what I'm going to do. I do think Joe Harris, if he gets chalky, is going to be a bad play because I never like playing Joe Harris as chalk. But if everybody goes with value in another direction, Joe Harris is a guy that can make a bunch of threes that you could throw into your lineups because he can always get hot. I'm very tentative. I think I'm going to have to start doing some research on officiating crews when we play, especially for the Brooklyn side of things, because Durant too, but Durant actually is talented and gets to the line and stuff still. Harden is still looking for calls, even though I don't know where he's expecting to find them, but he's not getting them. I also think at some point the league will correct it. I think they're making a statement. I think at some point the league corrects it and starts going the other way because it's making basketball much harder to watch. It's actually had the counter effect of what they wanted. Scoring is down. Everything is down with the free throws and everything being down. So I actually think they're going to correct it back because it's starting to make the game ugly. I just don't know when we want it, when that will happen. I think we probably have another month of this going on like this. That's my personal take. Anyway, that's a lot of saying.
And by the way, for those of you who are paying attention, when I flashed that, not that it matters at noon, but I flashed that new optimizer's optimal. It did have Caruso in it. So
interesting. Okay. All right. But anyway, we'll try and stay ahead of the curve on this stuff with the NBA. Sorry guys, it's a weird, it's hard to sometimes in the morning these days, especially with the NBA, because there's so much stuff that I feel like is going to come out that's going to trounce everything. So I'm trying to do the best I can with what we have, but also I want to try and get ahead of this officiating thing because I do think we're going to see it turn back, and it'll probably take every DFS player about 2 weeks to respond. I'd like us to be on the cutting edge of that. So anyway. All right, Minnesota, Memphis. What are you looking at, Sheets?
So this is one of the spots with I have like 4 value plays from this game. And two of them appeared in that optimal actually.
Interesting.
One is the probably the 40% owned Steven Adams. I always say that because whenever we don't think he's going to be 40% owned, he is 40% owned in the big buy-ins. Steven Adams looks good, and then also Jaren Jackson looks good, and boy, I haven't played this guy in a long time, but Kyle Anderson at 4,200 looks good. And as usual, Desmond Bane looks good, and he was featured in that optimal, by the way. So Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson, Kyle Anderson, and Desmond Bane. And then on the other side, I really wasn't getting too much on the other side. And I don't think I'd pay up for Towns. So for me, I'd probably just be fishing for value out of the Memphis.
So Steven Adams is going to early in the day project to be a very popular play. I don't know if that's going to be the case by the time lock actually hits. He's failed enough as chalk. And I think that there's a chance you get him at lower ownership. If he's going to be 40% owned, I think I can probably find other things to do, even though I like Steven Adams, and this is a matchup that should benefit him because he'll have the matchup with Towns and all that stuff. Part of why he's failed those, I mean, they got blown out the other night, so it's a little bit explainable at least. I'm very interested in all this Memphis stuff, to start with. I really like the Jaren Jackson Jr. in general. I think he's starting to sort of find himself a little bit. And, he would have had a big game the other night. Just they got completely smoked. Anyways, I like Triple J. I don't like Kyle Anderson. I don't like that play. I do like Desmond Bane. I like D'Anthony Melton is my favorite off the board one. He's going to get low ownership, and he has a ceiling. And this is a perfect matchup for a guy like him. I really like Anthony Melton, and I think that's something I might take a shot with. It may be in addition to, or instead of Bane. I love Bane. I think he's the better play most of the time here. But D'Anthony Melton has a huge ceiling and will probably have 1/10 the ownership of Desmond Bane, like no ownership. So, and I think Ja is completely viable as a spend up tonight too. On the other side, I don't have as much interest in, naturally, nothing stands out. But I think that Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns against this Memphis team are excellent plays. And I don't think they're going to have any, and partly excellent. More than that, I'm saying that they're going to be awesome. I'm saying that they're going to have low ownership, and there's something you can do with those guys. With D'Angelo Russell supposedly coming back, I think no one's going to want to play those guys. And there is absolutely a ceiling that both those guys can put up. So they're on my list too.
Okay, you want to move on?
Yeah, New Orleans and Dallas. Let's do it. Go ahead, Shoots.
Yeah, so same guys, I guess. Luka and Valanciunas, right? Those would be the guys to look at. I don't know if I can get to Luka before one of the Laker guys though. Maybe I play, if I can get both of them in, I could probably do that, or Jokic even. I don't know. So I don't know if I'm going to get Luka in. Maybe I should. He's definitely rates to be a good play, not the best play, but I'll certainly keep him in mind. And then Valanciunas continues to rate to be a good play. So if you don't want to spend down and play Steven Adams, or if you don't feel like paying for Jokic and Embiid, I think that Valanciunas remains a good option. So those are the two guys that would stick out for me, at least the first one.
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody thought on Friday that Valanciunas at the start of the day was like, he was looking around, he was somewhere in the 20% range projected. Some of the other shows were talking, he's probably going to end up 30% owned. He ended up at 2%, and he was smashing. They just got smoked. You know what I mean? He would have played another 7 minutes and probably put up like 60 fantasy points, but they just got smoked. He was. This all hinges on whether Brandon Ingram plays and Herbert Jones, and we may not know again. Herbert Jones only for the extra minutes. We'll go right back to Josh Hart in that situation. I'm not as worried about them getting blown out by Dallas as I was with Golden State. And honestly, Josh Hart would probably play 40 minutes in that game and put up 40 fantasy points had they not got smoked. Devontae Graham would be in play for me. Kira Lewis would be in play for me, but I need Brandon Ingram news before I make any decisions on the Pelicans, including Joe Val. I think Joe Val, with Ingram out, Joe Val is really the center of their focus of their offense. And they are significant underdogs. They've been really, really bad. So I guess there's a little bit of concern that them being blow out, just not quite as much as I had it with the Golden State the other night. I like Kristaps. I would prefer Kristaps over Luka today. He's getting in that price tier where I think we should be playing him. And I like the matchup for him against the Pelicans, partially because he can get a shot off anytime he wants against these guys. They give up tons of threes. Like, this is a great matchup for Kristaps. So I'm very on board with playing Kristaps. Probably we'll have more of him than Luka tonight. I'm fine with Luka as always, but I don't think that I think Kristaps is probably the guy I'm going to end up playing more of. So that's where I stand right now.
Okay, so Miami, Denver, this is where all of this value is coming from. We'll get to that in a second. But with respect to the spend ups, I do have Jokic as, my second best play on the board at 11,000. And then I don't really have the other Miami guys as rated as such great plays, whether it be Butler or Bam. But with respect to the values, the guys that are popping right now are, this is because of Michael Porter Jr. being out. You have PJ Dozier at 3,300. You have Bones Highland at 3K. I guess it's just those two. So, why do things gonna be more? I guess not. So I had PJ Dozier and Bones Highland projecting as good value plays.
Love, we're on a little bit of a different page here. I think that the guys I'm looking at are Monty Morris and Will Barton. And I think PJ Dozier and Bones Highland are extremely suspect plays.
Okay.
So if they end up with some ownership, play very, very cautiously with this. Like, just be aware, these are guys who can absolutely crush you. I have no idea why people wouldn't want to play Will Barton today. He shot 7 for 19 in his last game. He put up 36. He put up 47 in the game before that. He's been putting up plenty of fantasy points with Porter Jr. in there. Side note on Porter Jr., did you see there was one of the NBA things I follow have him talking about girls and different when they're on different road arenas and different stuff. And he talks like a kid, like he talks like my little cousins do. But while he's on the bench, his mind is not in the right place. And I was going to talk about it today, but he's not playing anyway. But I just think it's something we should keep an eye on going forward with Porter. His head is just completely not there. And he is a very strange, since he got his money, like, I don't know. I don't trust him. I really do think that and when I didn't mention Aaron Gordon, I don't think he gets as much of the bump as maybe people think, but he can always get it going and he's cheap enough. So I'm interested in those pieces, but it's a horrible matchup. One of my outright bets today, and I never like teams sheets. We always talk about this. Nobody wants to ever pick a team when they're going to play in Denver to beat Denver. I just think that Miami is a much, much better team. And I would have some interest in these Miami guys. In this Miami team in a bet, but I don't know if I have any interest in one individual play. We finally got the monster game out of Kyle Lowry, and that's cool to see. Like, it's nice to see him. He just went completely nuts the other day. Jimmy Butler has been awesome, but this is just not like a premier matchup for any of these guys. The one thing that stands out is Duncan Robinson is cheap enough where maybe we take some shots on him to hit some threes at 3,800 as a pivot off of some of this other suspect chalk. I'm not saying he's not suspect. He's just a guy who is 3,800 who can make 10 threes in the game. So we should always consider guys like that when there's other chalk that we feel is suspect. That's all I got. I do really like what Tyler Hero is doing this year. He's going to be a little bit volatile and a little bit too pricey for me, but I think my main interest in this game will be Barton and Morris. And then on the Miami side, probably going to leave it alone, maybe throw Duncan Robinson in.
Fortunately, the way the builds are looking, and I even looked at this from the optimizer we just kind of ran, is you're not going to really need these 3Ks anyway. So for example, like Dozier and Bones Highland, even though they rate to be like, good plays, they're not showing up in the optimals. I mean, like the 4K guys are, but the 3K guys aren't. So you probably don't need those today anyway, which is good because we wouldn't like them.
Yep, absolutely. Totally agree.
Okay, next game.
Speaking of suspect value, sorry.
Speaking of suspect value, it's interesting that you mentioned it because I don't really have anybody from this game projecting as value one way or the other. Suspect.
DeAndre Hunter doesn't look like a good projection.
He looks fun. I actually had him like 11th.
Okay.
So that's fine. Actually, what's interesting is the guy who I have rated maybe like 15th or 20th or whatever, who's actually showing up in the optimal is Jordan Poole, actually, from Golden State. So I do like Curry from as a spend up, probably behind Davis and Jokic, but not by that much. And good thing about Curry not having to extend himself that much yesterday is that, he could do it today, but it's not like he didn't play any minutes. I mean, he played. Just not he didn't get the full Curry. Let's put it that way. Like
they won that game, right?
Yeah, they won easy.
Yeah,
and it was like 20 going into the fourth quarter. They were trying to sit him, and then the other team cut to 16, and the Curry came back in just to kind of like close the door a little bit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like a Curry game yesterday. You know what I mean? He just didn't try to do everything. As a matter of fact, he was one of those kids who was on the bench, like whooping it up when someone from the bench made threes and like they're in the first half. You know what I mean? Like he was like trying to get his other teammates, going.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm into it. I'm into going right back to Curry. And I have Randall as a good play, not a great play, but that's pretty much all I have from this game.
Yeah, it's hard to justify playing Curry for me in general, but I want to point out that when he does go off, it tends to be when they need him to. Golden State has been I mean, look, they're doing all this without Clay, and Jordan Poole is doing his best Clay impersonation. And by the way, he's doing a hell of a job at it. Like he's been really, really terrific. And in terms of real basketball, their whole strength in numbers thing is something. Miami, we talk about their culture and everything, about the training, about being in shape, about how hard they work, about defense being number one. That's Miami's thing. Golden State's thing really is this strength in numbers thing. And it sounds like just corny thing. Everybody go, oh, that's just something they say because it sounds cool or whatever. That is how they play. They believe it. That's their motto. That's how they break their freaking huddles. And that strength in numbers thing is going to affect negatively for Curry's optimal. We loved Curry at these prices last year because he had to put up 70 for them to have a chance. He doesn't have to anymore. This is a really good football team. It's a really good basketball team. So Curry, fine if he gets to be low owned enough. If he's back to 2% again, like he was last week on Friday, I'll take shots on him all the time at 2% because he can always break the NBA 3-point record on any night. Literally, it could happen against any team, any matchup. There's no like bad matchup for him. And this is a spot where they may need him because Atlanta's a pretty good team, although they've actually played pretty poorly this season. But they do have talent. So I like Poole. I'm open to Draymond a little bit in this matchup. I think this is going to be a competitive game, and I think it should be a competitive game. I don't know. I can't predict everything. Golden State keeps blowing everybody out, so it feels weird to say that. I think Draymond is in play, but I think Poole is the main guy you want in this game. And I think, boy, if there was going to be a spot where Trae Young would take 30 shots, this might be that time. And it's always tempting to run the Trae Young and Steph on the other side. Do you know what I mean? Because you could get a combo of 23 pointers and boom, you're off to the races, and it's not going to be a popular combination. So, but other than that, I think that my heaviest level of interest is going to be Capella and Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic should be much higher priced, and people probably aren't caught up on this. Like I said, there's been some weird games that have been fluctuate. Like there's been some foul trouble games. There's been all the healthy bodies, and whatever. Cam Reddish has played well, so Bogdanovic has a much higher ceiling in minute. Like he's projected to play 31 minutes by what I'm looking at tonight. I think that's about accurate. He hasn't played 30 minutes. He's only played 30 minutes one time in his last 5 games. So if he gets those extra couple minutes, that 5,300 price tag is very tempting. And he's going to be popular on FanDuel at 4,800. I don't think anybody's playing him on DraftKings. So Capella is as the way low owned play. I just feel like it's a nice price for him. He's going to be popular. Capella also will be popular on FanDuel because he's 6,300 over there. I like him on both sites. I think you're going to see that monster game come from him soon. And this is a spot where I could see him have like a 20 rebound type of performance. So I do like this game a lot. I probably am going to get into some parts of it, which means I might even play a little DeAndre Hunter. I just want to point out with DeAndre Hunter why I say it's suspect chalk. This is a guy who has 5x this price tag exactly. Well, 22 fantasy points one game. I'm going to throw that one out. So he just hit the number. We don't even want 22 from him. 4K, we want 26 or higher probably. Maybe 25. We can deal with 25. He's been at those numbers. The one game where he made 6 of 6 threes. That's not a guy who should instill any kind of confidence at 25% ownership. However, I will say this again: if he gets low on, if things change and we get all this other value open up, he is an interesting play to pivot off of some of that value. So that's what I've got for you in that one.
All right. So moving on to the chalkiest player on the slate.
Yep.
So at least Phoenix was nice enough to announce now that Ayton is out and didn't make everybody wait till 9:30. I'll just say, like 3 games ago, Ayton was out. Kaminsky played almost 30 minutes, scored 35 fantasy points. Game after that, Ayton played. Kaminsky was back to the bench. Game after that, Ayton sat, and Kaminsky played 30 minutes and scored 32 fantasy points. Today, Ayton is out. Kaminsky's 4,300. You just have to play. That's my take. You could try to talk me off of that, but it seems pretty logical. Also at 8 and out, JaVale McGee is gonna continue to be a he's gonna show up as a good point per dollar play. I would prefer Kaminsky over McGee, and the ownership is going to join that in preference. The other guy that you can look at again from this game is Cameron Payne. He's a flat 3K. I don't think you're going to need him, but at 3K, he's certainly showing up as a decent value. With respect to spend ups, I'm not really getting too much of anything on either side of the game. So where are you on Kaminsky? Where are you on anybody else? Where are you in general?
Well, okay, so I'm going to sound like a lunatic for this first thing. I want to play Devon Booker in this matchup. I was saying a couple games ago, and I almost hit it exactly right. I did hit it actually. At the tournament I won, he was in my lineup when he scored the 50 against Houston. Then he comes back and he just had an amazing game against Atlanta. Really, really on fire. Played great. I think that he's finding his groove, and this is the best matchup in the world for a shooting guard right now. The pace of play, everything is making me really, really. They don't have anybody who can cover him. Like, I really like this spot for him. They're going to put Davion Mitchell on him. Good luck. I think Davion Mitchell's a very good defender. He's just not big enough to guard him. Is it too much of a price? And it probably is in general. It's just some sticker shock there with the 9,200. I just think that this is a spot where I could see taking a really low owned shot on a Devon Booker. I want exposure to this game. This has got, I believe it's the highest total on the slate. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm just saying I'm going through my early process, and he's definitely on my list of guys I'm open to. With the Kaminsky thing, I'm going to do everything I can to try to find an argument to fade it, but I honestly think it is a little tough. It shouldn't be this tough. I mean, he did, first of all, in the game, he put up 35. He had 4 steals and a block in that game. So that's, 10 of his fantasy points right there. If he gets 25 and he has the same as McGee, nothing crazy there. Last game, he had 6 rebounds. He also had 4 assists. He is a guy who will get you some assists. So that's something I think you can't expect from him. I'm trying to find a way to fade him because I think he could end up at like 80% owned range. I think JaVale is probably the most logical solution to that. The problem is it's not like I like Holmes as a center, but it's not like Holmes has to do anything. I don't know. Like they don't need the defense of McGee. They can just play, it's not like Holmes is going to beat up on somebody down low, so they can play Kaminsky and get away with it. There is a route where they're playing better with McGee, and they, maybe you only get like half the run in the second half from Kaminsky that you do McGee. I mean, you could probably actually get away with playing both those guys in this matchup, but I don't know. It's right now. I'm going to try by the time it's 6 Eastern to find a way to fade Kaminsky. But if I can't, I'll just suck it up. I like plenty of low owned spend ups tonight, so I can do it. But I don't think it's a guarantee that he has to score 30 fantasy points. And if he scores 25, you're fine. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's a good value still, but you don't like.
I mean, at least they bumped him up a little bit. At least they didn't make him 3,500.
Exactly, yeah, but I still think he's going to be like 80% owned. I think this is Rashaan Holmes against his former teams has always been a thing. He didn't go completely nuclear or anything last time they played. Only put up 35, but I have mild interest in Rashaan Holmes here. I think he's a better play on FanDuel, but I have a little bit of interest there. And I don't really know what to do with the rest of the Sacramento side. They play fast. They play a lot of different bodies. Davion Mitchell's price will make him completely unowned. I'm probably going to be a part of that unownedness, but he's another guy in that cheap price tier. And boy, I'll tell you what, Sheets, on Friday, remember what I said about Harkless? And then he comes out in the first quarter, he has 16 fantasy points.
Did he really?
And then by the end of the game, he has 17 and a half total. So he, for a minute, I was feeling really, like maybe I was right about that instinct, and it obviously didn't pay off, so it didn't matter. I love this game environment. I think it's going to be good for somebody. I just can't find a price. Everybody seems appropriately priced that I think is viable. The one guy who we come back to, who you never like to play, and I never used to like to play, but I'm like being ahead on the fact that things are very different. They run a lot of stuff for Harrison Barnes out there, and maybe it's not the most exciting play, but it's definitely a guy who can get you, 5.5, 6.5 X return. You can get 45 fantasy points in this kind of a matchup. I really like the Phoenix. I want to take a shot on the Phoenix guys, which is going to make me want to run it back on the other side. I mean, one of the Phoenix guys, I want to take a shot on Booker, but I can't quite justify doing it. Maybe Tyrese Halliburton seems like a little bit of a better spot for him because of the speed. I don't know. I can't quite find anybody, and I really wanted to. So I'm kind of disappointed that there's nothing I can find on Sacramento in the game environment I want to get some exposure to. However, it may not matter because, as you said, I should let you say it, but if you didn't like all that, we got a game at the end here that I think we can definitely do some things.
Wow, I did not even see what happened. I guess I didn't even play the game or didn't play Saturday. Davis really played 7 minutes and left with a stomach illness.
I know.
He must. You know what? He's lucky. But if this were like a weekday when everybody was really focused on the NBA, like Twitter would have gone freaking ballistic. It may have anyway.
It did a little bit, but not as much as
right. But there's too much going on. Like if he's going to do that, you should probably do it like on a Sunday when everybody's on football. You know what I mean? Like if this were like a Tuesday, we're in a big NBA slate and with no LeBron and everybody playing AD, and he leaves after 7 minutes, they would have freaking murdered him. So I don't know what that's all about, but nonetheless, you now have a team coming off of three straight terrible games, two of which they lost. And I think Davis is they're really playing. They really got to have to start winning. You know what I mean? I think that Davis is going to just I've seen him when he tries to take over games. I mean, he's freaking impossible to stop. And even though they lost to Oklahoma City that game, I mean, he really just took the ball. I mean, he just tried to do everything. So Davis for me is the best play on the slate. And I would play Westbrook. I don't know if I play them both, but I think both of them are pretty elite plays. So I think they're going to, I also, until further notice, you just kind of have to bet against them against the spread every game until they do something. Even though Charlotte's on a back-to-back here, I think Charlotte's probably very live. I don't even know what's the spread, like pick them. I mean, I couldn't even imagine being a big favorite over anybody anymore.
2 points.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what that's all about, but the fact that it's a close game one way or the other just makes me really want to make sure I have at least one of Westbrook or Davis in all my lineups, if not both. I mean, I don't know. I think they're going to really just do everything in their power to win this game. Yeah,
I completely agree with everything you're saying. Look, you guys, anybody can come at me. Everybody knows how much I love Westbrook as a player. I'll be the first to tell you, for the most part this year, I think he's played pretty much terrible. He's also a slow start. Like, it happens with him sometimes. It's not a shaped thing or anything like that. He tends to, whenever when he switched to the new team, when he went over to Houston, we saw what happened. And then all of a sudden he just started wrecking people for the second half of the year. But it took him like a month to get into it. Everything that's happened though is going to lead to lower ownership on these guys. So if you can find the value and you can play Westbrook and Davis together, I think this is the kind of matchup. Also, with how fast Charlotte plays, I think it's a great spot to do that. I also think Rajon Rondo is very live at 3K here. They don't, they haven't played him like a ton of minutes or anything like that, but this is a premium pace matchup. They were going to have to play a little bit of Westbrook with Rondo at times, which is ugly, but they're going to do it. The projections are not going to love Davis and Westbrook. It's the first time we've seen that since with LeBron out. And I love the idea of playing one or both of them. My preferred option would be Davis. And I love that people I think he might end up sub 10% tonight. Now, there's a flip side where he may end up 30%, but he may have end up sub 10%. And now we get to see what Cheats is eating with his fresh meals.
No, look to the left.
What is it? Oh, Hornets Lakers. Oh my God, that was funny. I thought you were both. What is he doing over there?
Why am I highlighting it?
No, I didn't see the highlight. My bad. I was just kidding around. It's a national televised game, and it means Rondo time, right?
That is right.
Yeah, I think that holds a little bit of weight here, less than it used to, but I think it does have enough of a weight to where I'll definitely consider it. I like Plumlee in the actual matchup a little bit, but I'm not going to play him. I'm
not doing that.
I'm not doing it either. I'm just throwing it out there. He's going to show up. People are going to look at it and they're going to see him show up. And I think that you're going to get some ownership on him. And he's just been basically terrible. Terry Rozier is a better play on FanDuel, as everybody knows. He's 5,300 over there. I would just say though, he has become a much more scoring. He's always been scoring dependent to some degree, but his assist numbers basically don't exist anymore with LaMelo and Hayward on the team. I think this is a spot where you could play Bridges on the run back if you're going to play these Lakers, which I think is a good idea. And I love Bridges here. The only game he let us down really was that just a terrible game against Sacramento. And I am going to be very happy to play Bridges as a run back, or LaMelo is probably a little too tough for me to get to. But Kelly Oubre is really, really cheap. And the minutes projection on him is a little lower than I would have guessed. He played 28 yesterday. I'm not sure that he doesn't have more than 20 minutes in them, and that's what I'm looking at right now. But I definitely want some run backs, whether it be Hayward or Bridges. I feel like Hayward is the safer bet to put up like a 5 to 6x kind of a thing. But the Lakers defense has been terrible. They've played terrible. They've kept everybody in games. They've had moments where they looked really good against OKC and they were up by 1 million points, and then they just let it all slide away. And I'm going to want to get some pieces of this game. So I want to play Davis. I have Davis, then Westbrook. And then I want to get into the, Hayward or Bridges on DraftKings, Rozier on FanDuel. That's where I'm at.
I don't know what I like this Charlotte team in general. I don't know why they can't. They're not a winning team though, right? They don't have a winning record, right?
I don't think they do at the moment, but they've had a couple of tough games too.
I like this. I don't like their bigs, whatever, but I like Bridges and LaMelo and Hayward on the same team. That's a good group, man.
It's a fun league pass team for sure. For some reason, they can't seem to find a good big. I actually thought Plumlee would be a better pick for them than he had pick up for them than he has been so far. And they're
what happened to that guy from last year, that other center that we play sometimes, the big guy when
Bismack?
Yes. What happened to him?
He's not playing. I don't know. I actually can't remember if he's hurt. Probably hurt. I honestly can't remember what's happening.
Okay.
But this is these late spots. I just say it again, and we also get a lot of late breaking news. I would try to target these late spots. That's why I'm sort of blah on the early ones. And that's why I talk so much more when it comes to the later games. You just have so many possibilities. Also, you happen to have the highest totals all start at 7 or 10 Eastern. So those are the games I would want to get involved in the most. And I want one with Westbrook or Davis probably in every lineup. Even at their high prices, they're going to be much more popular on FanDuel, of course. I want to run back in that game. I love the long shot Devon Booker play that I may stick with and just take my 1% owned Devon Booker. If there's any early game that I do want to do some business in for sure, that I could maybe compare with these games, would be the Minnesota-Memphis game. But mostly, I think most of my lineups will have 6 players, probably from these final games. I just don't see another way that makes enough sense for me to go. I do like Kristaps as a one-off. And I mentioned the Memphis guys who I like. So maybe 1 Memphis, 1 Dallas, and then if you want to go Embiid, okay. But I would take 1 Memphis, 1 Dallas, and then I would try to get involved in the late games. That would be my strategy today.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Well, good luck to everybody today. We will be with you 6 Eastern. Sheets, if you can make it today.
Yes.
Awesome. And I will have my picks updated. I'm sorry about my technical difficulties yesterday. I had a computer issue, and then we're getting the new internet at my girlfriend's new house. So I was trying to get everything done, and I actually got done in time. I got done in time for the show, but I didn't have all my stuff together. So, and then I've had my DraftKings issues. But today I will have my lineups and my bets posted up there. And let's make some money, guys. Good luck, everybody.
Hang in there after you start recording.